Hi, Eric Gibaud, Gibaud.com, and today, thanks to Olympus Iberica, I'm going to present you the OMD E-M5 Mark III with the zoom lens 12-45mm f4 Pro. Let's start. So let's speak about the camera. I will show you some pictures and video we've made with Claudia Reyes, so thank you to her for helping me. And I'm going to give you technical data and my impression. First, this is a micro four third sensor, mirrorless, 20.4 megapixels with a true PIC8 processor. So the true PIC8 is the one you find on higher level cameras, in Olympus cameras. 20.4 megapixels is the same sensor as you find on the OMD 1 Mark II, Mark III, and OMD 1 X. Okay. Sensor cleaning. They've put a new sensor cleaner, better. They said new or better sensor cleaner. I don't know exactly what they want to better, because Olympus cameras are incredible with sensor cleaning. I've never cleaned mine for the last 5 years. I've got two cameras. Never have had to clean the sensor, and the system they were the first. Olympus was the first brand to have sensor cleaning, and it's incredible since day one. So I don't know what they've bettered, but it's better. Okay. The viewfinder has 2.3 megapixels, 100%. Some people say they could have made it better, but honestly, I cannot be honest regarding viewfinders, because after you've been using a Leica M viewfinder, any viewfinder looks worse than before. So I'm really used to look through the viewfinder and just see to compose, frame all this, but really I don't expect something that looks like looking through the window. So to me, it's very hard to say if it's good or bad, honestly. You have a diopter correction here. The screen, well, this is articulated screen, 3-inch, okay, fully articulated. This is touchable, but this is not multi-touch. I don't know why Olympus has not made that, because nowadays competition many have multi-touch. You can actually use as a mobile phone. You can enlarge pictures, all this. So it doesn't do it. So I don't know why, but it's not multi-touch. I said because otherwise, if I don't tell everything, people say, yeah, you're just Olympus fanboys and you forget to tell the things that are not as good. So I tell it, this is not multi-touch, okay? Doing some vlogging test with my daughter Pino. The sound is directly from the camera microphone. Hola Pino, hello, hola. Stabilization, the IBIS is incredible as every Olympus. It says it can better 6.5 stops. I mean, the Olympus stabilization is already incredible. When I look at the result since day one, my cameras are 5 years old, and it was already incredible. I've made some comparison with the Fujifilm X-T4 and my Olympus OMD 5 Mark II, that is 5 years old, and it was still winning. Testing stabilization with handheld at waist level, walking as slow as possible. Testing stabilization at waist level, running as fast as possible without falling. But I think there's one thing I must explain, because maybe in my videos I didn't explain enough, and many YouTubers and reviewers don't explain it. It's important to separate what is image stabilization for photography and image stabilization for videography, which is different. I mean, when you look at the Canon R6 I've tested a few days ago, or the Fujifilm SX10, if we look at stabilization with photography, this is really similar to the Olympus. You really can drop the speed really low and still get a stabilized picture, and it's sharp and everything is good. When we speak about video, this is where the difference is really crazy. And when you look at like the Fujifilm X-T4 I tested, when the IBIS enters to compensate and stabilize, it goes like choo, 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 really harsh movement. And when you look at the Olympus, the flow is incredible. It goes like if it was a gimbal, you know. And this is really that you see the big difference, and that Olympus is really ahead IBIS wise for video. For photography, others are really similar. And it's important to say it because it all depends what you want to do in video. If you expect to buy an X-T4 without gimbal, you will be disappointed. If you buy an Olympus and want to use it with a gimbal, you'll be really surprised, and you will probably not need any gimbal. So this is really a big difference. Some people say that it's easier to stabilize a small sensor, and that's not true. It's as difficult to stabilize a small sensor as a large sensor. But what is the difference? The difference is the size of the camera. It's not the same thing to move a small sensor in this size of camera. I really have a lot of space. If I look at a full frame like the R6, I will need an even larger camera to be able to move really a lot the sensor. So it's not the size of the sensor, it is the available space. If you make a really large camera, you can really move a lot more. So I think this is mainly the reason between the difference between stabilizing one camera on another, depending on the format. Focusing. Obviously, you have manual focus, and then if we speak about the autofocus, it has better a lot. Now it's not just contrast autofocus, it's also phase detection autofocus. You have 121 cross type focus points, and you can get them together in areas of 5, 9 or 25 points. So this is really good. It also offers face and eye detection. It already existed in Olympus. When people were like amazed that Sony and Fujifilm came out with that, I was like, yeah, but I already have that on my camera. But okay, they've bettered it. It's really good now. So it was okay, now it's really good. You also have the possibility to do focus stacking. I stated, because many people ask for it, if you want to do macro photography mainly, but other kind of photography also, you can make several pictures. In this case, up to 999 pictures, and it will stack them together, so you get a lot deeper depth of field. When you do macro, if you don't want just the tip of the leg of the fly, and you want to have the full fly in focus, you need this focus stacking. So yes, you can do it. But with Olympus, it does not work with every lenses. You need compatible lenses, because the camera needs to be able to change the focus point on the lens. So it's important you have a compatible lens. So if you're interested in this, check that the lens you want to use is compatible with focus stacking feature. Okay. Bracketing. It does exposure bracketing, ISO, HDR, profile bracketing. Compensation -5 +5 EV. Multi-expo. I don't like multi-expo, but many people love it because they've been using it on they've been using it on analog photography when you want to make 2 or 3 pictures and they just get together on the same one. So it's possible to do it in camera. I don't like it, but people like it. It's there. You also have artistic filters. And now let's get to the ISO. ISO go from 200 up to 25,600 ISO. And many people are a bit worried about the ISO in Micro Four Thirds. So I show you the ISO. I think it's usable up to 3200, and then after it really gets really noisy. And people should understand, or could be good that they would understand how people use Micro Four Thirds. The stabilization is so good that you normally don't crank your ISO so high because you don't need to. You can do really low speed. So when do you need to crank up your ISO? When it's action photography with low light, because then you need to keep a certain speed, a minimum speed, so the subject is not blurred. And then you have no other choice than cranking up the ISO. But for most people, they don't need to. You go to a museum when they say you cannot make pictures with the flash, most people would put the ISO up. With your Olympus, you just put the speed down and the stabilization will fix it. So depend on the kind of pictures you are making, having on high ISO that doesn't go as well when you go really high is not really of a problem for most people. Obturation speed from 60 seconds up to 1/8,000th of a second, which is really like any pro camera, 8,000th of a second with a mechanical shutter. And if you go to electronical shutter, then you're on 32,000th of a second, which is really good, I think, for people who need that. And in bulb mode, 30 minutes. Okay, so for some people will be maybe a bit short, but well, okay. There's other option like live composite we'll speak about later. Great thing Olympus offered already for many years. It came out with this one, the 5 Mark II, which is the possibility to do high resolution, the same as you have on the now Sony Alpha 7 R4. It uses a stabilization. Actually, what it does is it disactivates the stabilization, but use the physical mechanism, okay? And it will make 8 pictures, moving the sensor half a pixel, and then it will blend all the pictures together and make you a very high resolution. So you get 50 megapixels in JPEG or 80 megapixels in RAW. So this is really incredible. It means if you feel like 20 megapixels is sometimes short for some things, you could use the high-res feature. But this high-res feature, you need to have your camera on a tripod, not like the OMD1 Mark III. You can have handheld with less resolution, but still you can. On this one, you need to be on a tripod, and the subject needs to be steady, because if I'm doing a landscape and the trees are moving like this, obviously between each picture it will have moved, and I will see it. So this is ideal for product picture, for architecture picture if there is no moving elements. So this is good to know that when you need high res, you have it. Burst rate. If you do action photography, you get 10 frames per second mechanical shutter. And if you want higher, you can go to electronical shutter, and then you get 30 frames per second, which is less than the big brother, the OMD1 Mark II, Mark III, and the OMD1 X, which has 60 frames per second. But in this one, they've added the Pro Capture that I don't have on my camera. The Pro Capture feature, what is it? Well, actually, I'm going to do action photography. I have pressed the shutter, and it starts making picture, 30 frames per second. And then when I definitely press the shutter fully, it will make the picture and a burst. So I will get, it will keep the last 14 picture I made before, when I was, before definitely pressing the shutter, the last 14, and then it will keep shooting. Altogether, I can get 99 pictures. So for action photography, it's completely impossible to miss a picture, because you start capturing picture before actually pressing the shutter. So this is a feature that is brilliant for action photography. If you want to make your kid going to score a goal, you don't know when he's going to shoot, you start shooting before, and that's it. So any kingfish or whatever you want, you start making picture before. So Pro Capture is a great feature. I really would have liked to have in my camera, and they've had it on this Series 5, so it's great. It also have some correction, like perspective correction. If you make architecture, it actually you can correct the perspective before shooting, so this is great for that kind of photography. If you like to use fisheye, it also have optical correction, which is really useful for people who want to have the fisheye doesn't be so round or whatever. It's possible. Flash. This camera, they don't integrate a small flash. You have a small flash unit aside, put it on it, but it's not in there. So is it a problem? But for me, not really, because I never use that flash. Sometimes I've used it for macro. I was walking around and I put it on. I put a small piece of white paper in front to diffuse a bit. But most people, they prefer to have external flash or use a trigger for a strobist or type of photography. So this is not a problem. Flash sync. It syncs at 250th of a second, which is perfect for me. And it does high sync. You can high sync to up to 8,000ths of a second. So this is really a pro feature that many people would like to have on medium range cameras, and you find it in this. So this is great. RAW file. You have 12-bit depth of color. Some people say this is not much because APS-C and full frame camera have 14. Honestly, I've never seen anyone looking at my picture saying, oh yeah, but your lack of depth of color. So really, honestly, it was never a problem. So the reason why Olympus and Panasonic, they decided to do Micro Four Thirds on 12-bit is basically because they wanted a small system, small in every sense. The size of the camera, but also the size of the file. And files in 12-bit are a lot smaller than 14 or 16-bit. So honestly, I think it's not a problem to me. I don't think it is a problem to anyone, but well, here's the information. Video. The video goes, they've bettered that compared to mine. You have a 4K now. You have the Cinema 4K in 24 images per second. And then it's the format that is, I have to read here. When I say I look at here, I look at my notes. When I look at here, I look at the screen. Okay, so sometimes I look at you. Okay, sorry. So the size is 4096 pixel wide by 2160 pixel high, which is the Cinema 4K in 24p. Then you have a standard 4K, which is 3840 pixel wide by 2160 pixel high. And then you have 24, 25 and 30p. Then in Full HD you have 24, 25, 30, 50 and 60p. And then you have the possibility to have 100 or 120 frames per second. In this case, the recording time is shorter. Standard recording time is 29 minutes. Olympus has not voided the limit. It's still 29 minutes. Although nowadays you don't have to do it limited to 29 minutes because before it was because of a tax reason. You have extra tax if it was like more than 30 minutes because it was like video camera. But this has been void in Europe, so this is why they were doing that all over the world. But okay, so it's still 29 minutes. Is it a problem? But for some people, yes. If you want to leave the camera recording in the back of the church while you're doing a wedding, for example, you have to be don't forget to go and check at 29 minutes if it has stopped, you know. So that could be a problem for some people, and for other people it will not be a problem at all. Okay, so but I have to give this information because many people ask the limit. Okay, the camera does time lapse. That kind of camera is used by many vloggers, and also they want to do time lapse and where they travel all this, so it's good. You have also artistic filters for videos, not just for pictures. That can be really interesting for people who don't want to edit and they want to already give a special look to their movie. So this is good. You have a section, a part to edit your RAW in camera. I would never use that. I prefer to do in my computer, but I understand that someone who is traveling wants to shoot RAW and wants to do some basic editing, that can be really useful to have this in the camera, so it does it. Great feature still here, obviously, because this is a king feature in Olympus, which is the live composite and the lifetime. Live composite is something incredible. For example, you want to do a long exposure photo, like 30 minutes. If it's in daytime, you really need to have a really massive filter to get light for 30 minutes. If it's nighttime, you can do it, but then you're likely to get bending because the sensor has been on such a time. You get bending, like this happened on many Sonys. You get some like bends like this. But how does this work? If I want to do a 30-minute picture with an Olympus, I don't do a 30-minute picture. I use live composite. I make many pictures, or 4 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and they all get together. And when they get together, it keeps only what has changed from one picture to the other. I really get short pictures all together. I can check in real time on the screen how my picture is being composed. I can stop at any time. I'm sure that some people, it has happened to them. They're making a picture on a tripod and they kick the tripod and they don't realize they've kicked the tripod, and when they finish a long exposure, then the picture is no good. With live composite, you would see it straight away because it will create on your screen what you're doing, so you would realize that, you would see it. And also the big advantage is when you do really long exposure at night time, it after makes another picture in dark to look at the noise your sensor is creating, and then take it out of your main picture, of the primary pictures. So if you make a 30-minute pictures, it makes a 30-minute noise reduction picture. In this case, it will also make a noise reduction picture, but just for the time of this short picture. Like if I make a picture of 10 seconds during 30 minutes, it makes an extra 10-second picture, not a 30-minute one. It means if I make a picture of 30 minutes, I'm not 1 hour occupied. I am 30 minutes and 10 seconds. So this is really, really good. One thing I miss is on the OMD 1 Mark II, they have several C profiles, so you can actually have your own set and you get straight from the button. Okay, so this is really good if I have a profile for night picture or one for sport picture, whatever. Here there is just one. I think I wish they had like 3, like the other one. That would be good. If we look at the memory card, just one slot, and it supports UHS1 and UHS2. Okay, it has HDMI ports. And then we speak about the USB. It has USB, but this is a micro USB. It's not the USB-C. So I'm a bit disappointed. I wish I had USB-C on everything. Although I think that when everyone will have USB-C, they will invent a new USB, so to make sure you buy something else. But the good news is, although this is USB micro, you can charge the camera here and also use it at the same time. So if you are planning to do some video recording using a power bank, you can actually connect it to the camera and still use it at the same time. So this is the good part. Okay, it has a Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, obviously. It has a microphone connector, a 3.5 jack, but has no headphone connector. Same as mine. If you want to have a headphone connector, you need to use the optional grip. Okay, well, been like this, and well, I don't know why. That's the way it is. Okay, well, now that we get to the bad parts. They've reduced the size of the battery. This is a smaller battery and it lasts a lot less than before. So if we look at the CIPA measures, it gives 310 shots on one battery. I have to be fair. When I compare other camera, I look at this data that the CIPA gives. So it would not be fair to say yes, but it actually does more, because I don't say that for other cameras, because I don't use enough other cameras to be able to compare. But I can tell you that 310 is not enough. I always ask the CIPA measure was at least 500. But I'm going to tell you how to get better out of your batteries. What I'm going to tell is not just for this Olympus, it's for any mirrorless cameras. First of all, when I actually switch on your camera, as you can see, if I pass my finger in front of here, you think it's off. No, the viewfinder is on. So many people, they have the camera, they see switched on, they have it hanging from their neck, and they think it's off because the screen is dark, but actually it's working. And the viewfinder is on. So it's very important when you're not making photography, switch off the lens, switch off the camera. Okay, it's really important. Second, this camera, most cameras, mirrorless cameras, they have the possibility to have the autofocus to be working all the time. It means to make sure you're almost in focus when you're going to put the camera up your eye and be ready to trigger. The autofocus is already searching, and this kills your battery. Switch this off. Make sure it works only when you half press the shutter, the trigger. Okay, when you half press the trigger, then the autofocus starts working, not before. So doing this way with my camera, I get at least twice what Olympus announces as the maximum on one charge. So what I'm telling is not just for Olympus, for any mirrorless, you can get more out of your battery if you do this. Switch it off when you're not using it and deactivate the full-time autofocus. In video, it says, depending on the format you're recording, from 60 to 110 minutes on one charge. Now, let's speak about one thing that worries a lot of people. As you can see, well, maybe you see it, I'm not sure you see it, okay. This one, the Mark II, is fully metal body, it's heavier. And this one is fully plastic. And the first thing many people think is, oh yeah, but if it's plastic, it won't be sealed, weather sealed. Yes, it is weather sealed, the same as mine, and this one also goes to minus 10 degrees Celsius. So don't worry about this. The fact that it is plastic is not a problem. Actually, if it was not for the temperature when you touch, and here you see the metal, you see it's really cold, and this one is not, you would not really see that clear that it's plastic, you know, because you see it's plastic, but the feeling is not bad at all. I think it's really, really hard plastic. I don't see it as a problem. Thanks to that, the camera is a bit lighter, and thanks to a smaller battery, it's a bit lighter. It's 414 grams with battery and memory card, so it's okay. So many people were asking me, is the plastic a problem regarding solidity? Well, I've seen one guy who actually broke here where the tripod mount is, but I just saw this one, and I think he actually screwed so strong, too strong, that the result it broke. But it would have probably broken on any camera with a plastic base anyway, and it will maybe have damaged a metal base also. So honestly, I think the fact that it is plastic doesn't seem to be a problem, at least to me. I don't have it for 5 years like my metal one, you know, but for the time I've had it, I think it's okay. I don't see it as a problem. What I like, they've put a dedicated button for ISO, so I think this is good. Before you had to go through this menu here, or the quick menu on screen. I think this is really good. They've put this button here. The grip is a bit deeper than before. It's okay. I like it. It's nice. I think it's really a nice camera. It's true that it's a bit lighter. I think not much, but it's a bit lighter. And the sound when you trigger is a bit softer than on mine. Okay, they've bettered a bit that. Image quality. Many people, when they decide whether to buy a camera, whether an entry level, a mid level, or top level, they always worry about image quality. This is something you don't have to worry about with Olympus, because they use the same sensor, and actually the image quality is the same. You look at the 1X, you have the same image quality as the 1D Mark III or the 5 Mark III. It's the same sensor, same image quality. So why should you buy one or another? Well, maybe because you want a faster burst rate, or you want double memory card, or whatever, okay? But the good thing is, like, if you have a top of the range Olympus, like the 1X or the OMD1 Mark III, and you want a second body, you know that the day you have to use this body for any reason, the image quality won't be less. So this is really good. It means that you will actually be able to mix both cameras, both pictures from both cameras without any problem. So it's really good if you're doing a wedding and your main camera fails and you use the second camera. You're not going to deliver a lower quality of your images. Okay, so this is a really good point that I've always said about Olympus. I think this is fantastic. One thing I really love about Olympus, I show it here. Obviously, it has it on every camera, on every Olympus. As you can see here, the orange here, these are, I've just made a picture, this orange here is highlight warning, and if you see the dark blue here in the corner, this is shadow underexposed warning. And you can really have in real time everywhere on your screen you see, or in your viewfinder, where it will be a problem or exposure will be okay. So some people it's not easy to configure, so I leave you a video here. I explain how to configure this feature on any Olympus cameras, which is something that is really great. It's impossible to miss on exposure before triggering the camera, because you know beforehand if it will be properly exposed. Dynamic range. I think we've better one-stop dynamic range since mine, the Mark II. Okay, I think it's one stop better. And if we look at ISO, as I said before, I think 1 to 2 stops depend on who is looking at the picture, because it's really, some people are really finicky about the noise, and other not as much. So it's personal preference. So I think it's 1 to 2 stops better, I think. So now I'm going to speak a short parenthesis about this lens, the 12-45 f4 Pro, because many people asked for it. I was going to do a separate video, but I think there's not that much difference with the 12-40, so I'm going to speak about it shortly. I still recommend to check Robin Wong's video where he does an in-depth comparison, and you will see the difference really there. Okay, difference or no difference, but you will be able to see the difference in when he compares. If we look at the size and the weight, obviously the 12-45 is a lot smaller and a lot lighter. So for traveling, this is surely a good option. But then when we look at image quality, it's really hard to say one is better than the other. If you look at maximum angle, 12mm, which is equivalent 24 on full frame, you'll see that the 12-45 in the center is sharper and more contrasty. In the corner, it's not as sharp as the 12-40. But then we go to the tele size, 40mm, then I think the 12-40 is a winner. So when you look at it, when you get on one side, you lose it on the other one. So what's really the difference? Well, if you look, so image quality, I think both are completely okay. On the 12-40, here I've got a clutch, so I can go manual exposure or autofocus, and also here I have a function button, so I could be like continuous autofocus, press it, and it will stop focusing, for example, if I want, or any thing I want to configure this button. On the 12-45, you don't have this clutch and you don't have this extra button. So some people will miss it, some people won't, but this is what it is, okay? So what is this 12-45 f4, who is it for? I think if you already have the 12-40 2.8, this is not sense to buy it, okay? If you don't have it and you hesitate which one to buy, I think if you're going to travel and weight and size is important, then I think the 12-45 is a better option. And you can always add 45 1.8 or 25 1.8 or 17 1.8 as a prime lens with a lot more aperture, more luminous, all this. So I think that would be a good option. If we speak about depth of field, I think people are really mad about extreme shallow depth of field, or they buy 1.2 aperture, or they don't use micro four thirds. So I don't think it's a problem. This is not a reason. So honestly, if you also work in a studio and usually work at 5.6 f8, yeah, why pay the extra for the 2.8? Get the 12-45, that's okay. Personally, I prefer the 12-40 2.8 because this extra to 2.8 is interesting to me, okay? And I already have it also. But if I had to decide and have the limited budget, I surely would get the 12-45 without thinking about it. And for people who are vlogging, I think the 12-45 is better also because it's lighter. So when they're looking at themselves, it's lighter in the hand. So this extra grams or less grams to carry, I think is a good point. So I think both lenses are really good, and decision should be made on, in my opinion, not on image quality, but really on weight and size more than anything else. So a conclusion about this camera. I was really surprised. Honestly, I was surprised. Really in a nice way, because I really expected more like a toy. Not fair to say that, but going plastic, I thought they would really go to a really lower range. And as when you read the features, it's like a mini OMD 1 Mark II. So you would think, yeah, but maybe I should get a OMD 1 Mark II and get the same features and got a metal body. And I've changed my mind since I've checked this camera. I think this right, the features are the same. So if you just look at feature-wise, any of both, the OMD 1 Mark II, now it's been, there is a 1 Mark III, okay? But if the 1 Mark II and this one are really similar. So why should I decide for one or the other? Well, size, weight. If you need double memory card, obviously the 1 Mark II is better for that. If you need faster burst rate, then it's better to go for the 1 Mark II. But if it's just for metal reason, I think this is not a relevant question, because really the quality of this 5 Mark III is really good. The build quality is really good. So I would surely prefer the 1 Mark II for other reason than the build. Really, it would be more down to the fact of double cards and things like this. But really, I think this is a mini OMD 1 Mark II. And also, if you have a good offer, a good price on the 1 Mark II, better price than this one, get it. Or if you get a better price for this one and the size you like it, get this one. I think this is a really, really great camera. For people who are worried about the future of Olympus, honestly, don't worry. Don't worry. Now, we've seen they've kept selling new things. They're still issuing new things. I think we're far better than a year ago, that we were really in the dark. We didn't know where Olympus was going. I think now it's clear that things are going to go okay. So don't worry. If you like this camera, get it. You won't be disappointed. Thank you, Claudia Reyes, for helping me. Thank you, Olympus Iberica, for lending me the camera. Thanks to you for watching the video. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a small button down here and also a small bell. If you click on the bell, you get notified when I upload a new video. My website, ericgibaud.com. If you have any question, you can leave a comment below. Also leave links of my gear on Amazon and also links to other parts of my YouTube channel. Please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye!